What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 2 of The Final Whistle. I'm Danny Irv, joined alongside my guy, Nathan Osler. We've got a good show in store for you guys today. We're going to be recapping the Chiefs and Ravens game that took place last night and tonight's game, the Eagles and the Packers. So, Nate, you got any takeaways from last night's game?
Yeah, I actually have a good bit of takeaways. I thought both teams had highs and lows. You could say, Danny. I guess right from the get go, the new illegal formation fouls, like penalties and stuff, are going to be very interesting this year. The Ravens had like 3 of them in the first 5 minutes, and I think the announcer said they even got 1 warning. So you could say 4 total calls and 1 that wasn't called in the first drive alone. If the NFL is trying to speed up the game, that did not work, at least at all. The Ravens did not get away with anything. I get it's a new rule, and they're going to be very picky. And we all thought as fans, we didn't know how picky the refs were going to be. But when they were showing replays, they're calling you if you're just an inch or a centimeter off sides. Like, it's going to be very interesting to see how many teams this week did not watch this game last night and are going to get nothing, and they're going to get all those calls against them because they're not paying attention. Players have to be heads up. You saw a bunch of offensive linemen for the Ravens especially had trouble with this. You could tell Lamar was getting frustrated a little bit. Harbaugh was getting frustrated. I think the Chiefs might have got called for it maybe once. I was kind of paying more attention, though, in the second half. And then also the whole kickoff debacle. I think I saw a stat on Twitter. There was only like 2 actual kickoff returns, a lot of touchbacks. So the whole, we want to make sure this game's more fun, more fast. There was not a lot of kickoff returns last night. So I think they failed in that aspect. I mean, it's only game 1. We saw it in the preseason. But I guess that's my first takeaway is this illegal formation thing's going to be interesting. But takeaway number 2 is I like Xavier Worthy. I think he's going to be a very
He's going
nice
to be a problem.
piece.
He's going to be a problem for sure.
He got the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. When the announcer said, "Here comes the blur," he's like, I think it was Tirico said that. I was like, this guy's going to be electric. And Patrick Mahomes has an absolute weapon used that is not named Travis Kelce. Rashee Rice, 103 yards. We know him as a speed demon, just to say that, pause. But other than that, like Xavier Worthy, this guy looked awesome. I will say that. And on the Ravens side, I'll say this. Isaiah Likely was probably the best Raven last night. I'll even say ahead of Lamar. I thought Lamar did not play good in the first half. There was a stat I saw. He had an average of a 0.8 yards per throw, like a depth per throw in the first half. It did not work out for Lamar. So I think the Ravens are gonna look completely different next week. Don't get me wrong. But Lamar and Mahomes, in my opinion, did not look their best last night.
I mean, we talk about Xavier Worthy popping off for the Chiefs. I mean, yeah, dude's gonna be a stud. He's like Tyreek Hill 2.0. He's, 40-yard dash time. Tyreek never ran a 40 faster than Tyreek Hill, technically, because we never seen Tyreek's 40. Again, I'd like to see them race side by side. I still think Tyreek's got the upper hand on that, but man, I mean, it's going to be a problem, dude. And Rashee Rice had a crazy game. I think he might be the new slant boy in the NFL. And, he just runs slants and picks up yards. They didn't use Travis Kelce a whole ton, which was kind of shocking. I think he only had 3 catches and he had 4 targets. He dropped 1. The Chiefs are still dropping balls. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco dropped a touchdown. And
Juju did too.
Yeah, yep, Juju dropped that one on like the 1-yard line. I mean, someone's got to figure it out in the Chiefs camp eventually. All right, let's just learn how to catch a damn football because it's ridiculous. And it cost them, I think, 3 games last year where their wide receivers couldn't catch footballs. Now, obviously, they have a way better stacked wide receiver room this year. But I don't know. I think we got to see Kelce get more involved. I didn't see Mahomes looking down to Kelce in the middle of the field as much anymore. I don't know if that means Kelce's just washed or if they're just so stacked now to where Mahomes doesn't have to lean on his biggest crutch in Travis Kelce. Now we go to the other side of the field there, and you look at the Ravens. Lamar Jackson is, he's a special athlete. Rushing wise, he's incredible. But when he has to throw the football, he's a joke. I mean, to say the least, that game's tied. I mean, Zay Flowers was so open, it was ridiculous. And with what was it, 10 seconds left, and Lamar just underthrown. I don't know what Lamar was doing. I mean, dude, just wait and throw a lob, and he was going to catch that. I mean, and then you look at, I think the MVP of the game last night was no one on the Chiefs. I think it was Isaiah Likely. And if you're a Mark Andrews fantasy owner, you're cooked, because
yeah. Yeah, I wanted to talk about Mark Andrews last night. I was getting frustrated.
11 yards or something?
He had 2 targets for 14 yards. 11 was his longest. Why aren't we throwing to Mark Andrews? This is one of the best tight ends in the NFL.
He played left tackle the whole game.
Like, that's frustrating to me. If I'm a Ravens fan, I'm frustrated that Lamar, one of his best reliable targets in Mark Andrews, only got two receptions on 2 targets.
Yeah.
You can't have Mark Andrews only get 2 targets. Even like Travis Kelce, like, it was a bad night for Kelce and Mark Andrews fantasy owners, in my opinion. It was mainly the skill positions, the wide receivers and your running backs getting a lot of the credit. And we know Lamar Jackson likes to hold the ball a lot. He had 122 rushing yards, impressive. He had the 273 passing yards, but other than that, I mean, I don't know what else you can expect out of Mark Andrews in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to expect out of Mark Andrews. He's a top 3 tight end. I mean, going back the last 3 years, the dude's a stud. And now Mark Andrews goes down, gets hurt the last few games of last year. I think the second half of last year. Isaiah Likely comes out, and the dude's a stud. He's fast. He's everything you want in a tight end. He reminds me a lot of like an Evan Ingram, but he's big. And if Isaiah Likely is 1 shoe size less, the Ravens are looking at overtime
all over again.
But I remember I had like a bet on the game or something, and I was like, I need overtime I need like Travis Kelce yards or something, and I was like, okay, we need overtime. But Harbaugh was going like this, and I was like, oh man, they're going for 2. So I was right back to just being a Steelers fan again and being like, all right, screw the Ravens, let's go Chiefs here. So. But then they reviewed it, and he was a shoe size too big, and so the Ravens lost. And I mean, I'm happy about that as a Steelers fan, but this is a good game. And I'll tell you what, that first drive, Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, that read option, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to stop that. And I don't really know how, if the Ravens offensive line, which looked horrible last night, they looked horrible. I mean, if you have Derrick Henry, one of the best running backs of our generation, there's no excuse for why Derrick Henry shouldn't have 60, 70 yards. I mean, Lamar had 70-some rushing. I think Lamar had like 100-some rushing yards. But you got to get Derrick Henry a little bit more involved. He sat out a lot of the plays. I don't think he was in too many passing plays. So it's kind of an easy read for defenses to know when the Ravens are running, when they're throwing it, because it's just, look, if 22 is in the backfield, there's probably about a 70% chance that they're running this football. And Henry didn't run too well. I mean, I don't think he tried to run outside once last game. They just kind of said, just run up the middle and pray. And I think his longest rush was like 8 yards or something, which is just not very Derrick Henry-esque. You could say it's because he's older now and he's washed. I personally don't think so. I think the dude's still a beast. He's still, a biggest unit of a running back in the NFL. And he still got it. And he showed that the first drive. And then after that, nothing since.
Yeah, I think the Ravens with Derrick Henry, I like the fit. He was rumored to be going to the Ravens whenever the trade deadline last year was coming up. The whole thing was, will Derrick Henry be a Baltimore Raven? With Derrick Henry, though, for me, I think his role on this team is going to be power back. He's going to be there for those short yardage, because who's the main running back on the Ravens? It's Lamar.
Yeah.
It's their quarterback. I'm looking at the box score right now. Lamar Jackson, 16 carries, 122 yards. His longest was 16 yards. Derrick Henry, 13 carries. His longest was 9 yards, and he had 46. He had a touchdown, the first touchdown of the NFL season. Really cool. But if you're Derrick Henry, your role with this Ravens team is going to be getting those big short yardage plays, of course, because you're a powerful running back. You're still one of the better running backs in the league. He's still top 10 for me easily, but he's not number 1. That's CMC, in my opinion, still.
For sure.
But Lamar is the main running back of this Ravens offense. And they said it last night during the game. Lamar is the Ravens offense. The offense runs through Lamar Jackson. He's the running attack, and he is the passing attack. So if he's not working, and I want to talk about the final 3 throws of that ball game last night.
Pathetic.
So the catch to Rashad Bateman made that catch, and somehow I didn't even know if he was put. I didn't even know if he was down. I don't know. When I was watching it live, I was like, the Chiefs didn't get him. They didn't put two hands on him, but I think it did anyway. But the refs didn't say anything. But like he went back, they were able to. They didn't, and the Ravens didn't have any timeouts either, because they wasted two of them in the third quarter, which I found very funny in my opinion as a Steelers fan. I'm like, why are you wasting these timeouts on defense? They're not being wasted on offense. You're wasting them while you're on defense while Mahomes is on the field. Give Mahomes more time. But looking at the first one to Isaiah Likely, I was worried Isaiah Likely suffered a big injury on that one.
Yeah, I thought he broke his arm or something.
Well, at first it looked like he was like grabbing his shoulder. Then I've seen comments saying it looked like his ribs. The next one to Zay Flowers, not even at Zay Flowers. And people were blaming Zay Flowers for that one. It could go both ways, but I think Lamar just overshot him. Some people were thinking Zay Flowers overran his route, but other people are saying it's just Lamar missing the throw. We've seen Lamar miss these plays in big games. We saw it in the AFC Championship last year in previous playoff games, especially against the Kansas City Chiefs. And then the final one to Isaiah Likely, who I was shocked was back in the game. Whenever I saw the catch was made, I was like, who is that? I was like, how did he come back? It's like the Undertaker. He's back from the dead. So I didn't even see him come back out on the field. I thought it was Mark Andrews, and I was going to go nuts saying, like, there's my fantasy points for the week. But no, it was Isaiah Likely back in the game. So then they say, we're going for two. I was like, I think the Ravens are winning this ball game because it's just the NFL script writers were on fire last night, I would say, with that script.
For sure.
It was perfectly placed. It was great if you're a big believer of the script. But then I see the replays, and Chris Collinsworth's going nuts, saying – his toes on the line. He's like, oh, I don't know, like that, his type of accent. And then I'm looking like, we got another Kevin Durant moment. I know you're a big NBA guy.
Yeah.
If Isaiah Likely's shoe was a size less, the Ravens win this ball game. Now I don't know if he's getting both feet in on that one, but at the same time, because here's the thing also with the Ravens, they were going for two definitely, and we've seen the Ravens fail at 2-point conversions a lot lately. So. Could that have ended the curse? Either way, I mean, I was looking at like Ravens fans' reactions on social media. They were mad about it, but at the same time, a lot of them were even honest, saying the better team won last night. Because I think both teams had flaws. And I don't know if you want to talk about Mahomes a little bit. I will commend Mahomes for that play where it got tipped in the air in their final offensive drive, and he caught it.
Jumped up and caught it.
And it was funny. I was like, this is pure luck. Then, of course, Chris Collinsworth was on, oh, what a play by Mahomes. Like, the whole meme's like, it's a little Mahomey type of stuff. But I don't know. I think Mahomes got away with a lot of luck last night, especially that one. Mahomes did not look like Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion. He could have been – he's looked way better in the past. He
definitely looked great. I mean, there was a few times he escaped pressure in the pocket and got away from a few guys and threw it downfield. And I know one time he found Travis Kelce for Kelce's biggest gain of, I think it was Kelce's like second or third catch. That was that deep one that Mahomes, kind of got out of pressure and rolled out and found Kelce. And I think that's just Mahomes being Mahomes. And I mean, an off day for Patrick Mahomes is a great day for 90% of NFL quarterbacks. I don't think Mahomes necessarily had an off day. I think it just wasn't the classic Mahomes where he's just him and Kelce. We saw more of Mahomes be a pocket passer, like a straight up, like not escape, just, find a guy. And now he has so many options, and especially with Hollywood Brown that's going to be coming back. I mean, he has so many targets. I mean, he's got Rashee Rice, he's got Sky Moore, he's got Travis Kelce, he's got Juju, he's got Samaj P. Ryan.
Xavier Worthy's the big one now.
Xavier Worthy, and dude, he's stacked. And then you still have like McCole Hardman, who's a good wide receiver. He won you the Super Bowl last year, and this is the best offensive Chiefs team I think we've seen. Just because we know how good Xavier Worthy's going to be. The dude is a flat out stud, and you can tell from week one that it's just going to be a problem. Mahomes is going to throw it to Worthy, and he's just going to do classic Tyreek Hill where he makes the guy miss, and then all of a sudden there he goes. He's 40 yards down the field. We didn't even see Mahomes throw a deep ball to Worthy. That's scary. We didn't see Mahomes even try to just say, screw it. Worthy's down there somewhere like he did with Tyreek Hill. When that starts to happen, everyone's cooked.
Can I ask you this question? I don't know if you noticed this too. How did Xavier Worthy get so open? How did the Ravens miss Xavier Worthy just standing there on that one pass?
Fast as hell.
It was hilarious. He's just there standing there. He's like, I'm wide open. Come throw to me. I was like, I think they were too worried going into that game, the Ravens defense, about Travis Kelce. They held Travis Kelce to his not a game up to his standards what he wants.
30 some yards, yeah.
But at that same time, you're risking leaving a rookie in Xavier Worthy who gets 2 touchdowns in his NFL debut, including a rushing touchdown on the first time he ever touched an NFL football in a game. So I think teams going into these games against the Chiefs are going to now, will Xavier Worthy keep this up? That's the question. I think he can, but I think teams are going to look at this game and say, we have to figure out a way to stop it. And at that point, they're going to look back at what they think with the Tyreek Hill situation. How do we stop Tyreek Hill when he was a Kansas City Chief? And you brought up all the Chiefs' weapons that they have, Danny. I think these are the best weapons the Chiefs have had all together that we saw last night since Tyreek Hill left, since he was traded. In my opinion, I like Xavier Worthy. I think he'd be a new Tyreek Hill. He's the fastest guy we've seen in a long time coming in out of the draft. And the Chiefs somehow got him with that last pick in the first round. And I remember telling you when we did our radio show up at school, I said, it's going to be hilarious that the Chiefs managed to get this guy. They are going to turn him into a weapon. And what did we see last night? Xavier Worthy became a weapon. He became a household name.
I'll read this comment here. I want to hear y'all's opinion on the calls the refs missed that I'm seeing on Instagram. I saw one where the Chiefs lined up in illegal formation, and then it says it wasn't called, and then a blatant false start. Do you think it's genuine misses by the ref, or they're just giving as much cushion to the Chiefs as I can? We saw it with, every dominant team. People are going to complain that, they get calls, When Tom Brady and the New England Patriots were dominating that era of football, everyone just thinks, whatever call they get, it's going to be, the refs have it rigged for the Chiefs. You always see the Instagram photoshops of the refs with the Chiefs jerseys on. I mean, it's every sport. You look at, when the Warriors were the biggest dynasty, everyone complained that they only got calls. You look at every other sport. It's whoever's top dog. It doesn't matter. And I mean, you look at any NFL game. You could watch a game between the Cardinals and the Patriots. There's missed calls. I know that if you really wanted to, every single kickoff ever, there's never been a kickoff where there's not holding. There is holding every single kickoff that you ever, if you really watch, there's holding on every kickoff. It's just the refs, are we going to call holding again? It has to be so blatant. But I mean, there's no one's perfect. 3, 2, 1, hut, and everyone moves at the same time. But I mean, there are genuine human error when it comes to sports, and I think that's what makes sports is there's no robots to be able to say, okay, he by 0.1 millisecond false started, and then there is bad calls that are crap. We saw it in whenever the Rams played the Saints a few years ago, that pass interference call, stuff like that. It's just there's no place for that in sports where it's just horrific calls. I think that there should be a level to challenge any call. You know what I mean? If there's something blatant that can cost you a game, it could be the smallest penalty, like a hold or something, where I think you should be able to challenge whatever you want. If you're like, oh, okay, hold on, I saw something last play, I want to challenge that there was a foul there. I kind of think you should be able to do that to a sense. And,
see, I'll even add this to Nicholas's point. I don't know if you were in here, Nicholas, and I brought up the illegal formation issues at the beginning of the game. I think is going to be the most annoying calls all season. And I thought the Ravens in the first drive were experiencing the pain of this new illegal formation and how picky they're going to be, because when it got introduced in the offseason, no one knew how, no teams I don't think understood how bad the refs were going to be for this, how much they were going to call it. The refs gave, I think, the Ravens a warning, and then they called them 3 times in that first drive. I think it's going to be hilarious to see how the entire NFL can regroup after this, because I think it just depends on the referees you have if they're able to catch it. How those the line judges, you could say, how they are looking at it. They clearly caught something with the Ravens, and they must have missed something with the Chiefs, because I don't really remember at that aspect of when it was, but there's definitely missed calls everywhere, and we see it in sports everywhere. Like even in the MLB, like the umpires in the MLB are the worst. Like that's the worst one. But I'm very curious, Danny, how this illegal formation is going to affect week 1. I think every team, they're trying to make the game faster than it already is. I think it's going to ruin it, because we saw how many flags there were in the first 5 minutes. it was all over Twitter. Everyone's like, this is hilarious. See how many fouls there have been. And I think it's going to slow down the game when they try doing with the kickoff. Like Nicholas said, the new kickoff and how like he hates that. There was only, I think, 2 kickoff returns last night. I think that's the funniest thing because they want to get players to run the ball back.
Stupid. Just
You're
dumb.
not allowed
Just
to.
dumb.
No one's allowed to run until the ball is caught. Like I bring back the old football I knew and loved. That's not the XFL. It's not the UFL. It's the NFL. It was perfect how it was.
A thing I'll say is, I mean, especially the new kickoff rule, why are we changing stuff that has been in sports since the creation of it? I think that's crap. The kickoff has been a thing for so many years, and I mean, it just looks stupid as hell when they kick it off and everyone's frozen. It looks like the Mannequin Challenge back in 2015 with the Black Beatles song, because it's ridiculous to watch. I think that'll be done. This won't be last for too long. But again, to the point of calls and games. When's the last time? I'll ask you this. You watched an NFL game that was close, that was decided between 7 points, that fans on the other side didn't have a call to say that they were screwed because of that. I don't think there's ever been a game, even as a Steelers fan, when we lose a game by at least 7 points, or by the most 7 points, I think there's always one call that people come back to and they go, that screwed us. That screwed us. No, I don't think.
I'll always remember that Jesse James caught that ball.
Stuff like that, like egregious calls like that. The Saints pass interference, stuff like that is genuinely ridiculous.
Do you remember
stuff like holding, where it's like, okay, like a false start by like half a second? Okay, did that really lose you the game? Now, if there's a false call, sure, you know what I mean. But I think anytime there's a close call in a one-score game, people are just going to come back to that and complain about the officials, say we got screwed out of a win. I don't think the Ravens were screwed out of any win. I think that they were screwed out of a win because their quarterback has the passing tendencies of a Division III quarterback. I mean,
see, I'll add this to the call thing before we move on, because I think we've talked a lot about Ravens Chiefs. It was a great game overall. But I'll always remember the one call that ended the Super Bowl between the Chiefs and Eagles, where Juju or whatever, it was something involving him. He was interfered with. I forget who the corner or safety was for the Eagles. I don't even think they're on the Eagles anymore. But so many people were upset about that. But it was like, it's a blatant pass interference. What do you want them to do about it? They're supposed to call it.
Yeah.
You just not want the refs to call the pass interference. That I understand it determined the Super Bowl winner, but you have to call pass interference because it goes both ways. The Chiefs would be mad. The Eagles are still going to be mad, but the Chiefs would have been mad if that wasn't called, because the Eagles could have ended up winning that Super Bowl if that wasn't called. So
just whoever's head honcho, whoever's the best team in the league.
It is what it is. It's a long NFL season, and it's like it's only week 1. It's already game 1, and I love seeing. I already love that the NFL is back. Seeing fans mad about the refs, I'm like, we are so back, Danny. I missed football because the Pirates have been bad this second half. I've been waiting for football to be back. I think when college football, the game arrived, that's how you knew it was NFL. It was almost time for football in the fall. And then preseason started. It flew by. A lot of people were saying the preseason went so slow. I thought it went really fast because there wasn't a lot of excitement from my end as a Steelers fan. Like, I was hardly watching those games. I was just keeping up. But seeing game 1, that's probably the first time in a while I've just sat down and watched a non-Steelers game throughout. Because the only games I like to watch throughout are Steelers games. Sunday night football, sure, but I'm on my phone all the time. Last night I actually sat down and watched a football game. That's how much I wanted football.
I mean, awesome. Tonight as well should be a good game. Packers versus Eagles. It's in Brazil. I know there was the whole scandal of, if you go to Brazil, you can't wear green. And the NFL picks 2 teams that are primarily green. I mean, Packers and Eagles. But I think that if you look into it, it was totally blown out of proportion. It's not really a thing. It's not actually like a point to where it's dangerous to wear green. It's like that's just not a thing. That it was proven like that people were just making that up. But it should be a good game. We got a good quarterback matchup between Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts. It's a kind of a new look Eagles team. You don't have Jason Kelce. You got Saquon Barkley. Is the tush push going to work? Is Saquon Barkley going to excel in a capable offense? I don't know. Is Jordan Love going to be the same Jordan Love that we saw in Dallas in that playoff run?
Yeah, I'm very curious about this matchup in general. I don't think it's going to be as good as what we saw last night. I
Yeah.
think the Packers, like you and I talked about in our NFL predictions, we both think the Packers and Bears are going to be like around the same like type of record. They're both going to have like that winning record. I've been seeing so many people, Danny, have the Packers making a Super Bowl run. I don't see that happening at all. A lot of
I
people are
don't
just
either.
drinking Jordan Love, like we really think Jordan Love's going to be good type of like Kool-Aid going around. I don't think Jordan Love's all that, and I'll take all the flack I can for that. I've never really been high on Jordan Love. He beat the Cowboys. He's good. He does not deserve the money he's making. He's only started one full year in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes, like you and I have said, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, those should be the two highest paid quarterbacks in the league. Case in point, not Jordan Love. Nothing but respect to Jordan Love, but he can't control the money he made. He got the money he got. Now I'm curious what he's going to do in year two. I think this is a year that he can win a lot of people over, including me, if
Yeah.
he can exceed my expectations of the Packers, which is 9 or 10 wins. I think he gets there. I think he'd be an average QB. I think he's their guy. He's the guy they want him to be. He was supposed to be Aaron Rodgers' successor. They gave him the money because of that. And he played a whole year. He made them get to the playoffs. And I want to see what they can do in year two. Can they somehow win this division that they're not favored in? That's the question. They're going to have a tough little go early. They got the Eagles. So I'm very curious. They just beat the Cowboys, another NFC East team who won the championship in the NFC East, but now they're facing the favorite in the NFC East, being the Philadelphia Eagles.
Packers are always going to be a team that are just good. It's, it's kind of like the Steelers. It's like, the best franchises in all of sports. You look at teams like the Celtics, the Yankees, the Cowboys, the Steelers, the Packers, NBA, like the Lakers, the Warriors. Like it's just a thing in sports where when you have such a good historic franchise, you're never going to be the worst team in the league. And I think that the Packers got a win with this Jordan Love. It was boom or bust last year for Jordan, and he excelled. He played phenomenal. And do I think Jordan Love deserves to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL? No, I do not. I agree. I think that it is going to be it's going to be between Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. But then Jordan Love's a good quarterback, man. But he's not the best quarterback in the NFL. He's not top 5. I would take this is crazy. This might be crazy.
Oh boy.
I would take Dak Prescott over Jordan Love.
Oh, I agree with that.
As a quarterback.
I'll
And I don't think that's that ridiculous to say. Jordan Love's he's a pretty good quarterback. He's not great yet. Games like tonight, Packers, Eagles, primetime in Brazil. These are games that makes you a great quarterback. Showing up in games where everybody in the country is watching. People from another country are watching. You show up tonight and you excel. You could be put in the conversation. Is this guy going to crack the top 5? I just haven't seen enough from Jordan Love yet. I haven't seen him just I don't know. I haven't seen a straight up enough from Jordan Love yet to the point where I can say this guy's a top 5 quarterback. This guy deserves to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. He's doing a lot with a little, in my opinion. I think he has a really deep receiving core, a very solid receiving core. But I don't think there's a wide receiver on that team that is a clear-cut wide receiver 1. I think that's a team with a bunch of wide receiver 2s, and to say that it's there's no straight up dog on that Packers team, except for I think Jordan Love, who has proven to be a dog in moments like when he went into Dallas and beat the Cowboys. But I straight up I don't think that this Packers team is a division-winning Packers team, like I know some people are saying. I don't think Jordan Love is an MVP quarterback, like a lot of people are saying. And I don't know. I need Jordan Love to prove me wrong to a sense a little bit more, to where I'm like I can say I'm finally just die on the sword and be like, okay, this guy is an elite quarterback, right? We haven't seen his downfall yet. We've seen one season of Jordan Love. We've seen seasons where a quarterback is damn good for 1 year and then they fall off the face of the earth. But usually it has to deal with injuries. So I mean, I'm hoping for Jordan Love to be a good quarterback. I want to see good talent in the NFL. I want there to be competition. Do I think he's an MVP? No. Do I think he's the highest paid quarterback in the NFL? No. Do I think they're even going to beat the Eagles tonight? No, I don't.
So you brought up their receiving core. Here's the weapons that I have their depth chart pulled up very quick before I can move on. Here's the Packers' weapons that Jordan Love will be working with this season. Their number one wide receiver is Christian Watson, who is very mid. And a lot of Packers fans, I had a roommate who was a Packers fan. He was not a big fan of Christian Watson a lot last year. Then he won him over in the second half, of course. Romeo Doubs. Now, that's a guy my buddy really likes, Romeo Doubs. Jaden Reed. A lot of people like him. Dontavion Wicks. And I think they're going to use Luke Musgrave a lot at tight end. I think that might be one of his key pieces. He's a good guy to catch those short routes. But the Eagles are, like we see Flex say, that's America's team, he says. I think the Eagles have the better weapons tonight to beat the Packers. It's not America's team, in my opinion. Let me just say that. Not America's team, in my opinion.
I think he was talking about the Cowboys.
Yeah, he's talking about the Cowboys. He's talking about the Cowboys. Well, you got the Eagles emojis.
I think that's for the rah.
Oh, well, I don't know. But basically, what I'm going to say here is the Eagles roster and depth chart blows away the Packers offense tonight. And let me just say this. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, they added Jahan Dotson. Dallas Goedert, very good tight end in my opinion. Now, part of the Eagles defense I'm very curious to see play tonight is the cornerback duo, what they got in Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. I'm excited about that. They drafted those two corners in rounds 1 and 2. Cooper DeJean was supposed to be a top 15 pick at a point, and they got him in the second round. Quinion Mitchell was a guy that surged up the draft boards, Danny. And I am excited for what they got in both those guys. The guy from Toledo, I think, Quinion Mitchell went there, and then Cooper DeJean from Iowa. I'm excited for that tandem they're going to have back there at corner. I'm excited to see who might be the better one. I'm curious. But that's going to be a question. Are they going to be tested? Is that going to be the route Jordan Love goes when he throws deep? Is he going to throw towards Quinion Mitchell, who is the starter tonight? I'm very curious. I'm excited to see if Jahan Dotson gets a lot of action tonight, if he's going to be how he's going to fit in this offense. But another guy, like you said, Saquon Barkley. I'm curious what Saquon's going to do in his first Eagles game. I'm also excited for that first matchup he has against the New York Giants after watching Hard Knocks, but that's weeks away. But I'm very curious at how this game's going to go for that new look Eagles offense, like you said. Kenny Pickett, number 2 starter. Kind of funny to me. I thought he was going to be the third stringer just looking at this depth chart. Tanner McKee somehow lost out to him. But Jalen Hurts is the guy. I think if you look at their depth charts and compare them all, the Eagles have them beat in a lot of categories. And on paper, I think you have to pick the Eagles to win tonight. I think it's still a close game. If I were to pick a score, I don't know if we want to get the final scores already. I don't know if you have anything else to add, but I'll say Eagles win tonight. I think they crack 30. I think this offense looks really, really good. I'm going to say 31-24. Like we say, Josh Jacobs. That's going to be a good one, too, for the Packers. I'm excited to see what he does.
So am I. Josh Jacobs coming off a career worst year, right? In Las Vegas. Now, that was a terrible – excuse me. Sick. Josh Jacobs coming off a career worst year in a pathetic offense, a terrible offensive line. The Packers don't have a great offensive line, but they've got it. It's there. It's solid. It's better than it was in, Las Vegas. Josh Jacobs he's a good pass catching, run it down your throat type of guy. Do I think he's going to break out in Green Bay and be like, oh my God, like Josh Jacobs, thank you for coming to the Packers. Like this guy just elevated us to the next level. No, I don't. Now that you don't have, forget the, second string running back on the Packers. The bald
I know who you're talking about. I can't think of his. He's on the injured list.
Totally blank. He's out for the year. Now that you don't have that 1-2 punch and A.J. Dillon. Now that you don't have that 1-2 punch anymore with A.J. Dillon and Josh Jacobs, is Josh Jacobs going to succeed? Sure, he's going to get more reps, but you see with like Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, if Najee Harris doesn't have Jalen Warren, Najee Harris isn't as good. If Jalen Warren doesn't have Najee Harris, Jalen Warren isn't as good. You saw it in Dallas with Zeke and Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard was insane with Ezekiel Elliott. Then when Zeke left, Tony Pollard last year was And I don't know. Josh Jacobs is definitely a good running back. He's definitely top 15, I'd say, but he's not top 5. I don't even think he's top. I don't know. He could be top 10. But do I think that Josh Jacobs elevates this Packers team from being a fringe playoff team to being, okay, this team's a lock for the playoffs? No, I don't. I don't think he brings that much upside to this team. But it's a new offense. The Packers did get better, and they did go to the NFC Championship last year. So I don't know.
They always make it work, like we've said. Matt
Yep.
LaFleur has a lot of haters and a lot of people that believe in him, listening to Packers fans react to him all the time. A lot of guys wanted him gone, but at the same time, he makes things work. I think the Packers are somehow going to sneak into the playoffs, like always, as that 6 or 7 seed. Like you said, like we said in our last episode on Tuesday.
They're the Steelers of the NFC. They are the Steelers of the NFC.
Yeah. They have a lot of championships, and they can hover around 500 every year and make it work somehow. And their coaches usually don't get the blame. It's usually the players first. Other
Except
than that,
McCarthy.
yeah,
Terrible.
You brought up the running back tandem. I have this on right now. Their backups to Josh Jacobs are Marshawn Lloyd and Emmanuel Wilson, who are both questionable tonight. So, are they going to play at all? I don't know. I think if you're the Packers, if you're a Packers fan, you're expecting a lot of play to your wide receivers and your tight end before Josh Jacobs tonight, just in case they lose Josh Jacobs to an injury or something, because what else do they have? They lost Aaron Jones. They lost their franchise running back who went to the Vikings. So I don't know if it's going to work. I think the Packers lost a key piece of that running back room in A.J. Dillon. I think he was mainly going to be their guy besides Josh Jacobs. I thought A.J. Dillon was going to be their number 1 in front of Josh Jacobs. But doesn't work out like that. Tough to see A.J. Dillon go down, but I think, like, I was thinking about this the whole time we were talking about Josh Jacobs. I can just think of the meme, the needle. Does he move the needle? And I just think of a gauge going like up just a little bit, because that Packers offense, like, it's one of the most boring looking offenses in my opinion on paper, but at the same time they always make it work. They are the Pittsburgh Steelers of the NFC. They look so boring on paper, but at the same time, they just make it work every year. And I don't understand it. I think Mike Tomlin and Matt LaFleur have like a phone call every week. It's like, how are you winning games? It's just the defense. Half the time, it's the defense carrying. So I'm still picking Eagles tonight.
I agree. I'm gonna go with the Eagles. I think this is gonna be a close game, right? I mean, you look at the spread; it's 2 points. I agree. I think this is going to be a 3-point game. I think the Eagles are a better team than Green Bay, but Green Bay just finds a way to stay in games. In Philadelphia, on the other hand, finds ways to lose games.
Yep.
They really like to find ways to kind of slip out of games where they have leads, and then they just kind of stop getting. They go 3 and out a few times, then they let the other team creep in. I think Philadelphia's defense did get better with in their draft, and their offense got better. Both of these teams got better from last year. I think that's kind of easy to say, but yeah, I'm taking Philly here just solely because of I think it's just a better, well-rounded team than Green Bay. But don't be shocked if Jordan Love comes into this game and wins it on a 2-minute drill, and then Jalen Hurts throws an interception with a minute left in this game where he's looking for AJ Brown, then AJ Brown's throwing his helmet. Oh man, boo-hoo. It's that's just how it works, man, in Philly. But I'm going with the Eagles here. I think that they're going to win by 3 points. I think it's either going to be a game-winning field goal, or the Packers just aren't going to be able to get a chance to get a field goal. But I think the ball will be in Jordan Love's hand to win the game. He will have a chance to win this game.
Like we saw last night, Lamar had a chance to win the game.
Yeah,
I think if you're a believer of the script, I think the script writers have something cooking tonight for the first ever Brazil game. I'm still picking the Eagles to win. I think I picked 31-27 or 31-24. But like you said, the Packers always make it close. You can't never doubt the Packers. I was at the game where the Packers were in Pittsburgh, and they made it close at the end. It came down and Jordan Love throwing a pick in the end zone. They could have won that game. So the Packers are always going to fight. They will never die. They will always be there. You can't blow them out because they always come back. So I would not be surprised if the Packers can upset the Eagles. But at the same time, I'm picking Philly to go 1-0.
Let me ask you this: Let's. Who do you expect a big game from both sides of the ball tonight?
Packers. I'm expecting a big game from Jordan Love. I think he has to silence a lot of doubters like me. He just got that contract. I think he's going to want to ball out this year. So I'm going to take the easy answer for the Packers, go Jordan Love. For the Eagles, like I said, it might not be a common answer. I'm very curious about Jahan Dotson in this new Eagles offense. I'm wondering if they're going to use him a lot tonight as that third wide receiver on the depth chart. I think the Packers are going to be too worried about Devontae Smith and especially A.J. Brown. They're going to forget about Jahan Dotson. So I would not be surprised if we see like a Jahan Dotson big play or maybe a short touchdown.
On Green Bay's side, I'm going to say expect a big game from Jaden Reed. The dude's a stud, and I think he's I don't know if he's the wide receiver 2 behind Christian Watson yet. I don't know how that depth chart has really worked out yet, but they're going to be attacking some fresh cornerbacks on the Eagles, and he's not going to be going up against Darius Slay. I think he'll be more on Christian Watson probably. So expect a big game at a Reed. And then on the other side, I think expect a pretty big game out of Devontae Smith. This dude, I think, took a big step up in preseason and in camp from what I saw. And, when you have he's going to have a very big game just off the point of A.J. Brown's going to be locked down by Jair Alexander, who is a top 5 cornerback in the NFL. Jair is going to be all over A.J. Brown. And we saw Jair Alexander shut down Justin Jefferson. He still got it. And so, I mean, you look to the other Packers, cornerbacks. I think Devontae Smith's going to have a really, really good game against that secondary.
Yeah, definitely. So we both got the Eagles tonight. We were both really impressed by the game last night. And Danny, there's a lot of games this weekend. Now, here's the question. We're both Steelers fans. Do we want to save Steelers for last and just cover all these, just pick winners very quick? Because there's a lot to talk about in the Steelers type of thing, a lot of drama today, especially a couple extensions this week, and a lot of news out of the QB room. So do you just want to go through rapid fire?
For what games?
Just go through winners of each games, maybe, if you want to talk about it just a little bit.
Yeah, I want to get into one thing first here. I got to make sure my AirPod's alive. It keeps dying on me. But, yeah, I just want to get into one little thing first. Is Jamar Chase. We still don't know if he's playing or not. He's sitting out. And I know I told you I wanted to talk about this, but athletes that are sitting out now because of, I don't have a contract. They think they're free agents. They're not free agents. Brandon Ayuk is not a free agent. Jamar Chase is not a free agent. In my opinion, it's complete bullshit that these guys are just able to say, well, I'm not playing. Grow up. You're in the goddamn NFL. This is your dream. Play football. You're in contract. Play football. It all started as Steelers fans, when Le'Veon Bell was like, I wouldn't be the highest paid running back in the NFL. And the Steelers were like, well, we're not really running. He said, I'm not playing. Dude, you're a 26-year-old grown-ass man, and you won't play because you're not getting 35. You're set for life, bro. I promise you, you don't need a little bit more money right now. And I guess there's a point to, well, what if I get hurt and all this? Don't get hurt. That's why we're paying you. That's why there's contracts. What the hell's the point of contracts whenever guys can just say, well, I'm not going to play. I'm not going to play. Dude, you legally signed a document that said, I'm going to play 4 years for you. You're going to pay me this much money. That's what a contract is. A contract is not, I know I signed that, but now I'm not going to play for you and until you extend me and give me $50 more million. Since when the hell should that be a thing? That it is ruining sports and it's ruining teams. You look at unselfish guys. Tom Brady negotiated his contract to get less money so the team could pay players. When I look at guys like Jamar Chase, when I look at guys like Brandon Ayuk, you go back to when it first happened with guys like Le'Veon Bell, these guys that are sitting out for contracts. I mean, it happens on every team nowadays. If you sit out for contract, you are a selfish player. You don't care about the players around you, and I think you are just a sore loser because you signed a contract. You were locked in, and now you're going back on your word against your ownership. I think it is incredibly disrespectful to, the ownership saying, I'm not playing, because now you just want all the attention on you. You want ESPN. You want to be on Instagram every week. Oh my goodness, Jamar Chase isn't going to play. Oh my goodness, this guy's not going to play. Dude, they have to play, and if they sit out, I think there should be a severe penalty, and there is penalties for guys like, you looked at Kyrie Irving last year on Brooklyn, and stuff like that. Guys that are sitting out, they're getting fined, but it's pennies to these guys. It's pennies. You can't fine the best receiver in the NFL $30,000, dude. He wipes his ass with $30K. Like it makes me so mad when I see this, and especially as a fan, you're so excited for the season. Oh my God, I can't wait. Oh God damn it. Our franchise quarterback says he's not playing until we break the bank on him. And now we can't, and now next year in free agency, we can't sign anyone. We can't afford to sign our running back because this guy's so selfish that he needs the money now. He can't wait literally 1 year until his contract is up. Like Nicholas said, Jamar Chase, his contract isn't even up yet. Exactly. He's not a free agent. He's not a free agent. Why can he dictate where he go? Why is he allowed to dictate if he can play or not? I don't know. I'd like to hear your take on it because it fires me up, as you can tell. It is the stupidest thing in all of sports. All of sports.
I completely agree with you because in the aspect of you're under a contract, like Nicholas just said, your contract isn't even up yet. And I like what Dakota said there. Roger Goodell should even make some hefty penalty for players who sit out. I agree with that as well because you're an NFL player.
Huge.
You are living the dreams of so many, and we see it in every sport. Like you just said, in the
NBA, just freeze their contract.
That's like you sign these deals. I get you want to be the highest paid. I understand the players the aspect of what they have. They're saying we think we're deserving more because players do get better over time. Like they put up better numbers over time. You see players that have been signing contracts, newer contracts, while these players are putting up good numbers. So like if you're Brandon Ayuk, you see Justin Jefferson gets paid, but that's Justin Jefferson. You're Brandon Ayuk. You're your own guy. You should not be getting paid almost as much as Justin Jefferson is. Brandon Ayuk is not putting up great numbers. He's not a top 10 wide receiver, maybe top 20, maybe top 15. But yeah, Brandon Ayuk basically became a free agent this offseason. And at the same time, it wasn't even free agency. He was determining where he was getting traded to. We saw the rumors. We saw it was supposedly the Cleveland Browns. We saw it was supposedly New England Patriots. And as Steelers fans, we were put through hell practically with the whole Brandon Ayuk's a Steeler. Brandon Ayuk is going to be a Steeler. Breaking news, Brandon Ayuk is no longer going to the Steelers. Then the next day you see the Steelers are back in talks. The Niners are about to do it. Then you see Jerry Rice say, I know something. And when Jerry Rice, the GOAT of wide receivers for the 49ers, says he knows something, that's when I knew the Steelers were never getting Brandon Ayuk. Why would the organization's GOAT, Jerry Rice, their best wide receiver of all time, put something out on social media about their current wide receiver who's going through a lot of stuff, trying to get more money and get a bigger extension? Why would he then come to the Steelers? I just knew he was going to be a 49er. Then I see the next day it's back on the table. I'm like, I'm not believing any of this crap anymore. He's going to be a 49er. The fact that players today can just say, I don't want to play for you anymore. You're under a contract. Like you said, it's disrespectful. I understand the argument of both sides. The owner, like the fan, you feel like you're getting ditched. You feel like you're getting cheated out of a player that is on your team. You lose respect for these guys. Like Le'Veon Bell, I lost a lot of respect for.
Literally,
I have a funny story. I don't know if I've told you about this before, but I'll get to that in a second with Le'Veon Bell. But with the player side of things, I completely understand the players aspect. They see players getting paid more than them, that are producing less than them at some point.
Wait for your contract to be up then.
And that's the same thing with me. That's the fan in me saying, like, just wait it out. Sometimes they're just waiting a year. Maybe wait till you're actually a free agent where
what's the point of a contract then? What is the point of a contract then?
If you want to leave, other teams that think you're of more value will pay you even more than what you think you're worth. So that's what we see. Like in baseball this year, we saw so many starting pitchers that aren't good starting pitchers get paid a lot of money because the market was crazy for starting pitching this past spring, and we'll get to baseball maybe some point in the future. But at the same time, it's like every sport, it just depends on the market value. Like with wide receivers right now, Danny, the market value is through the roof for wide receivers.
And
Like
even
every year,
CeeDee Lamb, like a guy like CeeDee Lamb, he sat out. He was threatening to not play. I mean, it's horrible. It's horrible.
Here's my funny Le'Veon Bell story. So when I was a freshman in high school, so I'm now out of college, I was in the marching band, and it was during the Le'Veon Bell like fiasco. Like he's sitting out. The ESPN posts were everywhere. I left a comment basically saying like the Steelers don't need Le'Veon Bell anymore. He's such a spoiled little brat. James Conner's the next Le'Veon Bell. I get an alert. Steelers RB26 liked your comment. It was Le'Veon Bell, his actual account. No he was liking all the hate comments. Like you could see like who liked comments at that point. It was when the liking comments feature was first introduced. It had the verified check, and I was going through everyone. He was liking every single Steelers fans that were not saying he was not worth the money and wasn't worth the fiasco. So he knew he wanted out. So at the same, I thought that was a funny time. I was like, oh, he actually liked my hate comment. I felt pretty good as a Steelers fan because I thought I was sticking up for James Conner at the time because James Conner just got drafted that year. But it's a whole thing. Like I said, I understand both sides, but I'm more so on the fans and the ownership and the GM side of like the team side of things. Like we signed you to a contract, play it out. You pen to paper. Your agent watch you sign it, pen to paper. Half the time, the agent is confirming the contract before the player, and the agent knows the terms. And also part of it might be agents want more money out of these players, so and then the agents sign the contract, and then when the player wants more money, the agent might be like, you know what, maybe you should sit out because maybe I can make some more money, if you know what I mean, because the agents are getting a cut of that money every year or so, and a lot of their big clients, like we see in the MLB, Scott Boras is very infamous for that. He wants the most money possible. So with these NFL agents, they're using that mold that Scott Boras, I think, built in the MLB for his clients to get the most money possible and be like, hey, sit out if you want. Make bank. They're going to give in because they know the teams want them. The Brandon Ayuk and his camp knew that if he sat out, the 49ers were eventually going to give in or get rid of him. Because he had an offer from the Steelers supposedly on the table and from other teams. And he supposedly accepted the Steelers' offer. From what I saw on all the news sources, and a lot of them were through ESPN too, that even confirmed he was given a contract that he liked from the Pittsburgh Steelers. But because he held out so long, the 49ers finally gave in and upped his contract value. So it's smart on their end. I hate watching it as a fan, like you said. But if you're a player, it's smart to do, I guess, if you're worth it. But at the same time, I hate it. I hate it just like you. And I agree with the aspect they should have some fines in there. We've seen it before.
Fine. You should, in my opinion, if say you are guaranteed $50 million a year and you sit out for 25% of the games, 25% of your 50 million will smell you.
Yeah.
No. If you sit out the whole year, sorry, you're not getting your money. Sorry about it. You're just not getting your money. And it's different if a guy's hurt. Still get your money, that's, all this. But if you're going to sit out, like, dude, you don't deserve $50 million to sit on the couch and every week on ESPN them talk about you. It's just, there's no place for it in sports. It is horrible.
It's the get on ESPN.
Everyone does it. Yeah, they just want attention. They just want everyone to glaze them, and there's no place for it in sports. No, I know it's happened to every team. It happened to us as Steelers fans. It happened to just Cowboys fans, Niners fans, now Bengals fans.
Yeah.
It happened with I think a few years ago. It happened with Lamar Jackson when he went
I was about to say Lamar was threatening it.
Yep.
And Hayward was even threatening it with the Steelers.
It is horrible. And I hate it. And we're about to move into the Steelers here, but I think my final thought on that is that is just the biggest load of crap in all of sports. And
yeah,
we'll touch into Steelers now, but yeah, that's my take. I had to get that off my chest.
It's a good debate to have. I think we could have a whole spiel about this on a future segment if we want. But before we do Steelers, do we want to pick winners of the other games first?
Yeah.
So let's just do a rapid fire. So Cardinals, Bills, I'm going to take Bills.
I'm going to take the Bills as well.
Bears, Titans. I'm going Bears. Chicago Bears.
Listen, rookie quarterbacks in their first week, they don't win a lot. But I think Caleb Williams is going to do it. I'm gonna go with the Bears here.
Bengals, Patriots, I'm going Cincinnati.
Easy, Cincinnati. Easy. Doesn't matter
Now,
if Jamar plays or not.
the next two games I'm actually intrigued by, Texans and Colts. I like this matchup.
Very good matchup. Two very good quarterbacks, very young guys. Two agile quarterbacks and a solid offense. I'm still going to go with the Texans here, even though I think that the Colts are going to be damn good this year. I think they'll split. They're going to split this year.
It is a Colts home game. Anthony Richardson, first game off the injury, coming back.
Don't be shocked. Don't be shocked if the Colts win this. Don't be shocked.
Like you said, it's a split. I'm going to go Indianapolis. I think they split and win their home
It's
games.
not crazy.
It's in Indianapolis. I could see a world where it's like Steelers-Ravens where they win always at each other's homes usually. But I think this is a Texans team that I like their offense, but I think the Colts defense, I like it. And I like Anthony Richardson. I think that crowd's going to be electric and rally behind your guy, Anthony Richardson, who you really like. Yeah. I think it's going to be a good return to the NFL after this is basically his rookie year coming up. I think I brought that up first episode. This is practically Anthony Richardson's rookie year part 2. He's continuing his first year. So I'm excited to see that. So I'm going to go Colts. Jaguars Dolphins is the other game I'm intrigued by. I'm going to go Miami here. I think the Jaguars might be able to do something cool. I like their offense. I like the weapons they added, but I'm going to go Miami. They're one of my favorites this year.
I'm going to go Miami as well.
This game I'm not intrigued at all by. Saints hosting the Panthers. I guess I'm going to go New Orleans.
I'll go with the Saints too. It's just a bad game. I'm probably not going to watch it.
Another game that's going to be awful. Vikings at the Giants. Another great game of NFL football. It would have been better if J.J. McCarthy maybe he's healthy. You have a rookie QB versus Daniel Jones, I guess. But I'm going to go New York. I think the Vikings are going to be bad.
I think the Vikings are going to get this one. I think New York is just still so bad.
Now, this one could be interesting. Raiders-Chargers. I think it's one of those games where I'm more interested in Harbaugh's first game back at the NFL coaching level. They still have Justin Herbert at QB as well, but I'm going to pick the Vegas Raiders. You and I both like Max Crosby this year.
I think Gardner Minshew is a capable quarterback. I just don't think the Chargers have any weapons this year. They're terrible.
Okay,
Herbert needs out.
Broncos and Seahawks in Seattle.
It's just going to be massacre Seattle.
I'm going Seattle as well. 4:25 game, your mid-afternoon game. Browns hosting the Dallas Cowboys. This is a game a lot of people also like.
Cowboys, easy.
I'm going to go Dallas. Buccaneers hosting the Commanders. I'm going Baker Mayfield and the Bucs.
Yeah, same. Just because Jaden Daniels, I don't think he's going to win his first start.
And 2 more games before we get to the Steelers talk. Lions hosting the Rams. I like this little rematch from the wild card game. Matthew Stafford playing in Detroit again. I like the story. I'm going to go Detroit.
I'll go Detroit as well.
And then your Monday Night Football matchup. That was Sunday Night Football, by the way. So Monday night, Jets 49ers. This is interesting because I think Aaron Rodgers, the whole rumor was before going to the Jets, the 49ers wanted him. Or that might have been the whole Tom Brady fiasco, but I think Aaron Rodgers was involved with that as well. But I'm excited for this one. Aaron Rodgers' first game back. I'm still curious about him, how he's going to do, but I'm picking the 49ers easily.
Yep, 49ers are going to beat the brakes off the Jets. I'm not high on the Jets at all this year. I think they're severely overrated. Rodgers is a crybaby, and give me the Niners. Give me the Niners.
I completely agree with you. I'm not high on Aaron Rodgers. I remember talking to you about the whole Aaron Rodgers darkness retreat. That was a treat to talk about for a week. But here we go. If anyone knows us already, we're Steelers fans. And it's time, I guess, for the final whistles. First ever Steelers game preview. And it's funny, Danny, we have a lot to talk about because on Tuesday we saw Cam Hayward get the extension. About an hour or so ago, we got a Pat Freiermuth 4-year extension. I think it was like $48 million. So he's averaging about 10 to 12 a year over 4 years. And then we see the news about the QB situation. So if you didn't know, Russell Wilson practically didn't say if he's healthy enough to start. He said we're going to take it day by day, that type of thing, see how it feels. That's not a comfortable answer for a guy that knows he's starting or not. So I think there's a realistic scenario where Justin Fields is your starting quarterback this Sunday in Atlanta. Now, it wouldn't shock me if Russell Wilson still starts and if he's healthy enough, but it's that calf issue we saw during the first day of training camp that sat him out for a couple days, and he didn't really play at all. I think in that first game it was a lot of Justin Fields. But the Steelers are not favored in this matchup. ESPN has the analytics side of it, 55% for the Falcons, 43% for the Steelers. A lot of people are picking the Steelers to win, though, nationally. I think it's the whole Kirk Cousins effect. They have a new QB. They have some weapons in Atlanta. But this is going to be interesting. I'm very curious to see Arthur Smith in his return. He was the Falcons' ex-head coach. Now he's the Steelers' offensive coordinator. A lot of people weren't really high on the hire when it happened. I'm curious to see how he does in his first actual NFL game as the Steelers' offensive coordinator. I know he's done it before, but I'm curious to how this offense is going to look ex-Matt Canada. It's no longer Matt Canada's offense. It's the Arthur Smith era. Pat Fryermuth's been extended. I don't know where you want to start with this, or we want to start with the quarterback scenario. So I'll hand it to you.
First thing I'll say, I'm going to try and say unbiased as possible throughout this whole show that we do, and I don't want people to think that they're tuning into a Steelers show.
Nope.
So I'm still going to go with the Steelers to beat the Falcons here, but I just don't see a reality where this Atlanta Falcons team is good. You know what I mean? People are saying that this team's going to win their division. I don't really see how that's going to happen yet. I'm not high on the Falcons. Kirk Cousins, obviously, I like him as a quarterback, but it's a new team. It's not a good core at all. There's nothing that is good about them. I mean, I like Bijan. Kyle Pitts is terrible. Drake London's, I think, average receiver. But I think the Steelers just have more weapons. They have a really, really good defense, and Arthur Smith revenge game is gonna feed families here. So, yeah, I'm going with the Lurs here. I think that it's just an unbiased pick. It's just going with the Steelers here, and I think that the Steelers are really not going to be as bad as everyone says. It just depends on who our quarterback is. I think if Justin Fields starts, we have a way less chance to win. If Justin Fields starts, I think that you could be safe, going Falcons here if Justin Fields is going to start this game.
I'm in the same aspect of you. Like I said, I'm not going to be biased with the Steelers. They anger me a lot, as we know. The Steelers, however, give me bad vibes this week with the whole quarterback situation. I don't even know who's starting this week. I'm still going to pick the Steelers, but I am not shocked at all if this is a trap game. They have to win the games they need to win if they're going to at least finish over 500 and preserve the standard is the standard of the Tomlin winning season. The whole, we broke down the schedules and what we thought Steelers were. You thought they were second place in the AFC North. I think they're third place. We just flip-flopped the Bengals and Steelers. The Steelers have an awful, and I mean awful, second half of the season after that bye week. After that Commanders game, they have every divisional opponent, plus the Eagles and Chiefs in there. And even before that, they have the Cowboys. And I keep forgetting about that Cowboys matchup. But the Steelers have to beat these teams. They have to beat the Falcons. They have to beat the Denver Broncos. They have to beat the teams they should be beating, or they are not going to be successful. They have the Jets, the Giants, and the Chargers also in the early parts of the season. They have to be able to beat these guys. So I'm hoping they can figure something out. I'm hoping they can do it. But I would not be shocked if this is a trap game, knowing Steeler football. So I'm going 60-40% Steelers win this game, but I think it's like a usual 20-17. I think it's going to come down to the final drive. Because the Falcons still have Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is a solid QB. He was a solid QB with the Vikings. I think he can reinvent this Falcons offense and what they have. I think he's going to use Kyle Pitts more than Kyle Pitts has been used before in his life as a tight end in the NFL. I think we could go back to the days where Kyle Pitts was a top tight end in college. That's why he was drafted so high, because he has a better QB. He has a better offensive scheme. So I still don't think Kyle Pitts is that good. But I think he's going to get used more with Kirk Cousins. So I'm going to keep an eye on him this game because I'm very curious at how he's actually going to look. And we also can't forget about Bijan Robinson. He can catch and run. He's a dual threat running back. So the Steelers defense, which is
the best weapon.
That is their best weapon. It's going to be curious what Steelers defense we get. Is this Steelers defense going to make me angry with their run defense like they usually do? Are they going to make me angry with the pass coverage like they sometimes do? But the rushing cover, like the run coverage, the run defense, historically, lately has not been that good. They can get pressure on the QBs, but at the same time, I'm curious at what they're going to do to be able to stop Bijan Robinson. But the X factor of this game is the Steelers defense. Is it going to live up to the expectations of what they sometimes don't do? We saw last year we didn't really see the best year out of like guys like Minka Fitzpatrick. It was a down year for his standards. I don't even think he had an interception, did he? Maybe
Minka? Yeah, he did.
So it was a down year, however, for Minka, from his standards, or for his standards, what you could say. Can Cam Hayward, who just signed the extension, stay healthy? Can TJ Watt stay healthy for a whole year? He got hurt the final game and missed the playoffs. That's what hurt the Steelers at the end of the year. They didn't have TJ Watt in the playoffs. They are historically a bad team when TJ Watt does not play. Can Alex Highsmith stay elite like he's been? Can these young guys, can Peyton Wilson be as good as he's been in the preseason? Can Patrick Queen be amazing like he was with Baltimore without Roquan Smith? Because that's a big thing. NFL fans think that Patrick Queen was only good because Roquan Smith made him. I don't agree with that. I think Patrick Queen's his own player, and he's a very good player. But along the aspect of the offense, it worries me. You see, Nicholas brought up Drake London. I think London's going to have a really good year with Kirk. I really think he will. I think he's another guy to watch out for, but can the Steelers offense replicate what Bijan Robinson can maybe do to them on Sunday? That's what worries me.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Drake London. I kind of get worried about Drake London. I know Nicholas brought it up that, he played alongside Amon-Ra St. Brown at USC, and he was the wide receiver one, and he outperformed Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think that's a fair point to a sense of, college is a completely different ballgame. If a college scheme is different. You look at in the NFL, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Drake London, it's not even close who's a better wide receiver. And I guess we haven't seen Drake London's ceiling yet. We really haven't seen him at his highest potential, but I don't see a reality where Drake London is better or even really close to what Amon-Ra St. Brown did last year and what Amon-Ra St. Brown is doing in the NFL currently. The dude's a specimen. Drake London, I just don't see that much upside in him. Sure, he's has a better quarterback. He's got, Bijan now to where Kirk can check down to him, look for Kyle Pitts. Is Drake London a guy that, 2-minute drill, you can be like, all right, we got to go to our guy here in Drake London. I don't think that he's that guy where, you look at teams like, the Raiders, they're like, okay, we're going to our guy in Devontae Adams. You look at guys like the Chiefs, Travis Kelce might not be the best receiver core on that team, but when it's a 2-minute drill, Mahomes is going to Travis Kelce. And I just don't know if Drake London has that dog in him yet. I draft him in fantasy. I would love for him to go off, but I don't know. And your guy Dakota said, London needs to have a breakout year for contract talks. Dude finally is a quarterback. Time for him to prove it. Yeah, he's got to prove it this year. It's just a straight up boom or bust year for Drake London. And those contract years, guys tend to ball out. I would love for it to work out, and I just don't see it yet with this Falcons offense. I just don't. I guess I'm a hater. These
Falcons receivers, tight end, running back have had to deal with Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ritter as their QBs the last.
True, that is very fair. It's very fair,
and that's the thing going into this game as a fan. I'm overlooking, I think, the Falcons a little bit because I'm used to the Falcons.
Kirk's coming off a bad injury.
That's the thing as well.
Coming off a really bad injury. He's old. He just tore his Achilles.
So, and I think
Kirk, ACL. I forget which one.
Do you think Kirk's going to be better with the Vikings or Falcons? First of all,
I think the Vikings.
I think he's better with the Vikings.
I don't know. The coaching. It's Atlanta. He's coming off a bad injury. He's old. I don't think the offensive line is ready for him yet.
Now, here's what I'll say.
Bijan's going to have a better year, but
not to cut you off. I think this is the best situation for him to at least win a division. I don't think he was winning a division in North. The Falcons can easily blow everyone's expectations, go get 10 wins, and maybe win this division the way the Bucs are. The Bucs are probably a 10-11 win team at max. This is a division where it's either the Bucs or Falcons, in my opinion. I think the Saints and Panthers are out of it. The Falcons might be able to blow everyone's expectations. I still think the Steelers somehow managed to get a win with the offense they have, but it's just because of the defense. The Steelers historically have some good numbers against Kirk Cousins. I was listening to a little radio segment about that. They're not that bad against Kirk. He hasn't had a great go at it against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He hasn't looked the best. So that's part of the reason I'm still picking the Steelers here. And it's Kirk's first big game, first actual NFL game that's not a preseason game, again, with the Atlanta Falcons. It's basically his debut. And it's funny. I'm wondering what his brain is like knowing they picked Michael Penix with that high of a pick. So I don't know what the Atlanta Falcons are doing right now. But like I said, I'm 60-40% Pittsburgh Steelers because I know there's the heart and the brain in me are different as a Steelers fan. The heart is saying we're going to win, I hope. But the brain is saying I just know it from the past. The Steelers can easily play stupid football in the second half or blow opportunities in the first half based off of fumbles, interceptions, bad running routes. They could also not get the ball on turnovers. If the Falcons fumble a ball, there could be a situation where the Steelers just can't pick it up. We've seen it in the past. The Steelers make ways for themselves to lose football games, and it comes back to bite them at the end of the year, every single season. There's always games I look back at. Last year, the games I look back at were the Mitchell Trubisky starts. The start against the Colts, that was an awful game. That's a game you got to look back at the end of the year. So I don't want this game as the fan in me. I do not want this game coming back to bite the Steelers at the end of the year. If it comes down to a one-game difference of who makes the playoffs between, like I said in my scenario, it's going to be the AFC North and AFC South, I think, fighting for a lot of the wild cards. The Jaguars, I think the Bills are awesome. The Bills are in the other of those, but in the East, I think the Bills are going to be fighting with all those teams. So the Bills, Jaguars, Steelers, Bengals, Browns, Colts, and Texans, whoever wins that division. Those 7 teams, in my opinion, are fighting for all the wild cards. It's whoever can win these types of games that's going to get those wild cards, in my opinion. If the Steelers cannot beat the Atlanta Falcons and blow opportunities, they're going to look back at this game on Sunday being like, if it's the end of the season, they missed the playoffs by a game, say, to the Jacksonville Jaguars because they lost the Atlanta Falcons, we're going to look back at this saying maybe they should have looked at it differently. So I'm hoping the coaching staff can figure things out, and hopefully the Steelers can pull out a win. But like I said, I would not be shocked. That's why I'm 60-40% right now in confidence with the Pittsburgh Steelers pulling this win off.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point to say. The Steelers have been known to play down to their opponents a lot. I think that on paper, it's a better Steelers team. And that's why I think it's a safe bet to go Steelers here. But if Justin Fields plays, it's a whole different ballgame. So, we're, 2 days away from kickoff, and we don't even know who our starting quarterback is going to be yet. And that's definitely a big problem. But if Justin Fields plays this game, I think it's safe to say that the Steelers are a bit underdogs against the Falcons. But Steelers find a way to win games they shouldn't. So it's that's always how it is. Expect a big game from the Steelers defense. I think if you're looking to who expected a big game from, and I think Bijan Robinson's gonna have a solid game against us, where it's gonna be tough to stop Bijan. But Steelers usually fare well against running backs. I don't remember the last time we've been dominated by a singular running back, and so yeah, it should be a good game. I think I'm obviously just gonna go with Steelers here.
Yeah. So a player I'm looking out for the Steelers, the X factor we talked about in the chat. Drake London. There's always a wide receiver or tight end every game that blows the Steelers up. We saw last when the Steelers lost all their middle linebackers. Trey McBride had an amazing game as the Cardinals tight end. Tight ends were killing the Steelers every week. I think they're going to test Joey Porter very early, try to get some PI calls against him. We saw a couple of those in the preseason. I think they're going to test the Steelers secondary, who is not – it can be off and on. They have Deshaun Elliott back there. They're going to test Dante Jackson, one of the new corners. And like always, they're going to be testing Joey Porter Jr. and Beanie Bishop Jr., who's the undrafted free agent out of WVU. They're going to be testing that young guy back there all the time whenever he's in there. So I'm not going to be shocked if Drake London gets a couple of nice touches with the football, gets a couple of nice catches, puts up some solid yardage. So Drake London's my X factor for the Falcons. On the Steelers side of things, my X factor is going to be weird. I'm going to go the O-line. Wow. How does the O-line protect their QB? Because I don't know if they even know who their QB is going to be. Because here's the thing with the Steelers offense. They lost Deontay Johnson. They traded him for Dante Jackson. And I was not really a big fan of Deontay Johnson, but their wide receiver room is clearly worse than last year.
Yeah.
It's by far one of the worst in the league, in my opinion. They have George Pickens, and then their next guy up is Van Jefferson. I still believe in Roman Wilson, but he's out this week. So your main guys are George Pickens, Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin III, and Pat Freiermuth, who I hope has a better year this year with his extension. I hope he plays well. and I hope he doesn't get hurt because that extension will look bad if he keeps getting injured every year. But that's why I'm going the O-line. I'm excited to see if Broderick Jones can look better than he did in the preseason. I'm curious to see if Troy Fautanu gets some snaps. A lot of people are saying Dan Moore is going to start, which looks like he's going to be the starting left tackle, because Broderick Jones is your right tackle. So Fautanu is the second string right tackle right now. I think if anything, he's going to play a lot of left tackle over Dan Moore. Isaac Semalu's out. You lost Semalu to that pectoral injury, and hopefully he's back very soon, because right now it looks like Spencer Anderson is going to be your guy, or Mason McCormick. James Daniels is starting, and then Zach Frazier I am excited for. I was really excited when they picked him at center. It was either him or Jackson Powers-Johnson. And when Powers-Johnson got picked by, I think, the Raiders it was, Zach Frazier was just right there, and it's a perfect fit. So the O-line for me is an X factor. How can they perform? And it's also, like you said, the Steelers are an underdog if Justin Fields plays, just because the aspect of how Justin Fields, I think, looked in the preseason. It was off and on. But here's a question I'll ask you before we go in a little bit. If Justin Fields hypothetically is your starting QB this week, if he plays amazing football, is he your starter in week 2, or is Russell Wilson the starter again? I think it's a good question to ask.
Yeah, it's hopefully we don't have to get to that, because every year watching Steelers, there's just drama and all this stuff. I don't know. I think give Russell Wilson his time. I think eventually, everyone inevitably knows that Justin Fields is going to be the guy later down the road. But, I'm a fan of Russell Wilson. I like him. I think he's here to play. He's our guy for now, and he's our guy until he's not. So I'm gonna ride with Russell Wilson until it's not time to ride with him anymore.
Like you said, I still believe in Russell Wilson. I get why people call him a bad quarterback. I don't think he's an awful quarterback at all. I think he's overhated, in my opinion. I just don't think he was a great fit at Denver. He did not fit with Sean Payton's offense at all, Danny. Yeah. That was not a good fit. He still put up, I think, 26 touchdowns last year. That's more than us Steelers fans saw from the quarterbacks last year, I think, combined. Steelers fans last year got Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, and Mitch Trubisky. If you're a Steelers fan or an NFL fan and you'd rather have that over Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, I think you're lost. And I'll just say that. Like, I was a Kenny Pickett guy, but I can even say this is a better quarterback duo than those three combined. That was awful last year. But I think if Justin Fields plays, I hope we see great things from him, because they're in a situation this year which I would not want to be in as the GM, that both these guys, Wilson and Fields, are on here for a year. And if they both do good, or if one of them does good, they're hoping maybe that one guy's your quarterback. And I think, honestly, they're hoping Justin Fields is going to be that guy. The aspect, he's younger. Russell Wilson's getting up there. He's nearing retirement. They don't want Russell Wilson to be the better quarterback. I mean, I would love it if he's an amazing quarterback this year and get them to the playoffs. But then you're in a bad situation where if you have the choice between Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, and Wilson was the only guy to actually put up great numbers, and when Fields got to play, it did not look good. You're probably re-signing Russell Wilson to whatever he wants, or at least something affordable, over Justin Fields, even though Justin Fields is the younger guy. And I want Justin Fields to be the guy in the future, just because we know Mike Tomlin loves the guy. He wanted to draft the guy if they had the pick. So I'm very curious of how this game goes. I guess one final thing before we go. I'll throw it to you, then I'll give my answer. Who's starting this week? I don't know if we ever actually determined that. Who do we think? What do you think?
I think it's Russell Wilson. Listen, we would have known by now if Russ isn't playing. It would be selfish if Russell Wilson waited until the last second to say, okay, I'm not good to play. You've got to know, by now if you're good to play or not. And it's going to be Russ's game. It's just the media stirring things up as always. He'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm going to go Russell Wilson starting as well. I think it would be a cool storyline if we got to see Justin Fields in Atlanta. I think he's from the area. I think it would be very cool to see him play. But I think he's the future of the Steelers, but not yet. I think Russell Wilson is your starter this week. I think he's going to be healthy enough. But if he does not look good by halftime, and if he's clearly hurt, they have to pull the plug and switch it out. They need to win this game. You cannot lose these types of football games. That's the bias in me coming out. You cannot lose these football games if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So I'm going to go Steelers, I guess, final score. I gave mine. I said 20-17. I think it's going to be close. Steelers win 2017.
I like 20-17. I think that was the score last time we played the Falcons, and when Minka got that interception, So yeah, it's always going to be a close game in Steelers football. We're never going to blow anyone out. It's going to be a good game. I like 20-17, kind of low scoring, but yeah, that's Steelers football for you in 2017. I really like that. I'm gonna go with that as well. So that's gonna do it for today's episode. Second episode of The Final Whistle is over. I hope every one of you enjoyed. If you're not watching this live, if you're watching this after it was live, drop a comment on the video, subscribe, turn on notifications so you're notified when we go live, or you get notified when our video drops. I know today we went live a little bit before 4 o'clock, just because we had some scheduling issues. Yep. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time. And make sure to tell your friend. Make sure to tell your friends about us.
You'll follow the Instagram as well. I think it's The Final Whistle Pod on Instagram. Probably we'll post on the stories or whatever when we're going live. Today we're a little bit late. We're figuring stuff out. But yeah, we went 3 o'clock today. We had some scheduling things, but hope you all enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel. I think you said you're going to be starting up a TikTok soon. Maybe post some clips.
Hopefully, we're trying to get some clips out there.
We had some good clip farming today, I guess, with Brandon Ayuk stuff and your little spiel there. But hopefully on Tuesday we're covering a good weekend of NFL football and a good, hopefully, Steelers win, or this is a good weekend of college football. We didn't even talk about college football, but I think we're going to save college football for Tuesdays. So,
yep. All right. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.
See ya.